Secretary, Commissioners. My name is Howard Janowski. That property is 789 Penn Point Road, better known as Pond Run Cove. Mr. Secretary, I think we talked about dredging in Pond Run Cove. I think it's excavating. There is no water in Pond Run Cove. You need to clarify that in your studies. You can bring them in. You don't need a boat. Any bulldozer will do it. Believe me. I have pictures. I'm sorry to say most of my docs are in most of the advertisements you see is what is wrong with Deep Creek Lake. I'm not here to criticize DNR. I'm here for some recommendations. Like the gentleman before me, I think we need to take a look at that study and the release of water that's leaving Deep Creek Lake. As the gentleman who worked for DNR said, we have changing climates, changing rainfall, and it seems like the temperatures are rising. I think we need to take a look at those charts once again and look at the flow levels, just like the gentleman before me stated, and make sure that in September that we have enough water in the lake to float the boats in Pond Run. Number one, our autumn glory is one of our largest revenuing in the county. At the end of August and September, I had no water in my dock whatsoever. How can I rent a cabin or a lodge on Deep Creek Lake with no water at the pier? The commissioners realize this. They know it is a cash cow with the people coming up here. We need your help. I apologize that our representatives are not here, our delegate or our senator. I understand they needed to be in Annapolis. But it's very important that we relook these things over. Also, when we do this dredging, we're going to have more water in the lake. More water in the lake is going to be more turbines. We're looking at green energy. I think possibly with your people, you could go back to the federal government and say, we can produce more energy, more electricity by dredging and getting more water to go through the turbine. I don't know if anyone's ever looked at that, but there should be some federal funds available. I thank you for your time and your consideration. Thank you, sir.
David Schelling, then Barbara Stork. David Schelling, then Barbara Stork.
Secretary Griffin, Commissioner. My comments today basically involve the bedload movement or the runoff coming and silting up the lake. I have two suggestions that would I think improve the comprehensiveness of a plan. I spent 30 years as a professor at Maryland, most of that time as a consultant to the state of Maryland, specifically for the State Highway Administration. Part of that was the policy on runoffs as Agnes, 100-year storm versus 20-year storm. And since that time, and my time up here, I've walked the lake. I'm having more difficulty today walking, but and I've noticed that the runoff coefficients have changed. So my comments to the hydrologist here is you have to be modeling what's happening around the lake, specifically the road system in Garrett County, which is under control of the county itself. The runoff coming off the roadway into the receiving waters is, I think, part of the problem on the silt buildup. That's why it's so turgid down the line into the lake itself. It used to be clear. Now it's muddy after every storm. And the type of material used rather than salt, I don't know what that plays, but I think that calcium has screwed up our lodge. The wood is not the same. Everything is gray. I don't know what the answer is to that, but it's also the amount of material put on the roads. The circumferential roads around the lake are significant in the amount of runoff coming into the lake. And also the small streams coming into the lake from the from the runoff is completely different than it was when we first moved up here in the 80s. It's not permeable in that it's going to the groundwater and aquifers. It's going right into the lake. There's more, runoff coefficients are higher, and you can see that runoff go in. I'm pleased to see that you have gauging stations, but that's not the answer necessarily, because those are large software for TR20, the large software runoff hydrology and hydrographs. I think you need a small watershed area, one by one, all around the lake to look at exactly what's happening. There's one resource you might want to look into. The Department of Civil Engineering has a resource called the Remote Sensing Center. Dr. Reagan started that. It's been very successful. It's a satellite-based system, and it does give you a lot of detail on a real-time basis. That may be one area. The last area I'd like to talk about is the speed of the boats. The boats are getting faster and faster, and closer and closer to the docks, and there's more erosion coming along the shore. That to me means nothing but erosion and more bed load going into the coves when it participates out. So my comments are all technical, but I think they're important in that the silting seems to be a real problem on this lake. And I think you have to take a high detailed analysis of a comprehensive plan on the lake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara Stork, then Ted Gristle.
Yes, my name's Barbara Stork. I'm Skippers Point Road. And a lot of the comments have been made here. We all know of the erosion, the sediment, the grasses, the goose poop. We all know about all those things. But I want to tell and I appreciate the commissioners and the secretary coming here and know we have a problem now. But are they really going to do anything about the problem? That's the question. You have wonderful neighbors that don't own the lake, but we go by all the rules you make for the lake. You have a wonderful neighbor in me. I had 2 enormous trees go down in this storm, which many of you have. And DNR came and said I can take them out, which is good because it'll impede my dock if I don't. But it's going to cost me $2,000. So I don't know. I mean, we're helping you guys maintain this area, but we have to go by everything you mandate. It has to be channels upon channels upon channels. We know a lot of us want to do erosion walls, but you want permits of $1,500 even to look at our erosion walls to help. I mean, if I had a neighbor that would help me, I'd be sure calling upon them and treating them pretty nice. I mean, we all know we pay lots of taxes here, and we help you there. We're helping the Bay. Is the Bay people going to help us when our lakes are sore like theirs is? All of us have an investment here. Every one of us here. You have an investment in your home. You have investment in your memories. You have an investment with us here as commissioners and your economic value. You've got to get on top of this stuff. We all know this. We're speaking, this little people here, we got a lot of people here for a Wednesday at 4 o'clock in November. I mean, get these people in the summer. This place, you couldn't even have it big enough to hold these people that have these concerns but can't be here. So we who are speaking today are speaking for much and many more. And lastly, I do appreciate you coming here. I think you're getting on top of it, but you're not getting it quick enough. We all know that this didn't happen overnight. I've written letters to commissioners long before you guys. As soon as they saw my name, they went in the trash can. So, I mean, I've tried to tell people the goose is going to die. The poop will be here, but the goose with the golden egg is going to die. So don't kill the goose. Get the goose healthy, that we can all continue on with what we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ted Rissell, then Judy Fang.
Okay, there's not a whole lot new to say. I would say there was a little bit of good news. 10, 15 years ago, these gentlemen would not have been here. I'm not sure they knew where Deep Creek Lake was 10 or 15 years ago. So at least they're here, they're thinking about it. Part of the problem is they're thinking about it and studying and not doing a whole lot. Someone mentioned about the Lake Management Office. They don't manage the lake, they manage the buffer strip. We need somebody to manage the lake and the watershed. The erosion, the erosion on the shoreline, this lady just mentioned it. We pay hundreds of dollars to get the DNR to say we can do something to save their land. And the tree, I've got a big tree down. I'm gonna have to pay the DNR 50 or 100 bucks so they can tell me I can chop it up and haul it away at my expense. It's their tree. I don't expect them to pay for it, but I think they ought to let me do it with not charging. Friend of mine went up to Lake Chautauqua to take his Flying Scot. Took him half an hour to get through the weed, and that's a big lake. And there were machines out there chopping it up. Of course, when you chop it up, you spread it. I'd like to second the thing about the milfoil weevils. And where do we get the money? Well, all of us here know that 2/3 and probably 80 or 90% of the people in Garrett County drain to the west. So we ought to get that flush tax back here in Garrett County, and that would sure pay for a lot of work that needs to be done. Thank you very much.